Hello everyone, I'm Robin Hicks, and this is the second video in the Choosing Joy video series. Today we're going to continue talking about conquering cancer and how we find joy in that difficult journey that many of us have had to go through. We have a special guest here today, Mr. Rick Streeter. He's here to talk to us about his cancer journey and share with us about how he finds happiness in the difficult time that he's going through right now. So I want to start by allowing him to share with us his story.
Well, I was diagnosed one day short of 42 years from the day my dad died of renal cancer. That would be September the 16th, 2021. I had gone in because I had an upper GI bleed. I was on blood thinners, and it could have been just about anything. And I quit taking the blood thinners, and the problems went away, and I almost didn't go in to have the endoscope done. But my GI guy decided, yeah, you really need to have it done, and we did it. And I guess it was about 3 or 4 days later, I get a call from my GP and says he needs to see me in the office. And I get there, and I had a sneaking hunch I knew what it was going to be. There was going to be good news, because he never wants to see me. And so I go in, and he takes me to the very back room and sits me down and says, "I'm afraid it's cancer." And of course, my heart hit the floor, and all these horrible things started going through my mind. And the first thing I asked him was, "How long do I have?" And he was honest with me. He said, "I have never had a patient with esophageal cancer before. I don't know."
Which is scary right there.
Which is
right.
very scary. And so I decided, okay, that's great. I have a carry permit. I had my gun in my car. I had the gun cocked on my lap, and I was looking across at Citizens Medical Center. And I got to thinking, this is stupid. I've got a wife to take care of. Nobody said this was a death sentence. And so I uncocked the gun, and I called my wife and said, "Deb, it's the worst. It's cancer." And she said, "Okay, what are you going to do about it?" And I said, "I don't know yet, babe. I'm going to come home. We'll talk about it." So I got home. We sat down. We cried. We held each other. She's blind and deaf, so she depends on me quite a bit. And I'm sitting there thinking, I can't leave right now. God, I just can't leave. But the one thing through this entire journey that I've never asked is, why me, God? Never did it ever cross my mind to ask that question. So that night, I posted it on Facebook that this is what had happened. And suddenly all these prayers started coming in. So we'll pray for you, you're our prayers, blah, blah, blah. And I started getting this feeling of peace. And I thought, well, maybe it's just me. Well, I get up the next morning. I'm working for a private Christian school at the time. And I go in and I tell them, and they immediately start praying. And my director's parents are very, very, very strong Christians, and they wanted to talk to me. So I went over that Saturday and we talked, and they gave me some books. And I started reading, and as I read, I said, I can do this. And I started getting this overwhelming sense of peace that I had never felt before. And it was just, I knew it was going to be okay. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to be okay. And at that time, right at the very beginning, I decided I can go two ways. I can go with the flow, live my life, be a happy guy, be grateful for what I've got, or I can fight it and be the grumpy old man. And I said, I'm not going to do that. Life's too short.
And you're going to have it either way, so you may as
right.
well.
That's
right.
Exactly. I'm going to have it either way. I might as well. If you have to enjoy it while you got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what I chose to do. And it has made life so much easier. By going to MD Anderson, you see these people sitting around. Some of them are just so glum, and they've just got that look about them like they've given up. And even if you go talk to them, well, they claim they haven't given up, but their body language shows that it has.
Yeah, and I say that often, that you can tell the minute that you meet someone who has cancer whether or not survival is even a possibility for them,
Right.
simply by their attitude,
Yeah.
their demeanor. Yeah.
I did not want to know the prognosis of esophageal cancer. The nurse over at Dr. Rogers' office, her name is Lori, she's a good friend of mine. The first thing she told me was, do not get on the internet and start looking. Just don't do it, because it's going to get you down. So I didn't. I said, what the heck? Why bother? Let's just go with it. I decided that I was going to self-report myself, refer myself to MD Anderson, which I did. By the time I had my meeting with Dr. Rogers, he'd already set up things here in Victoria, but I said, I've already self-referred. Here is my record number. You can fax everything there. Put this record number on it. It'll get there. 2 weeks later, I was having my 12-mile walk around campus for all of my meetings over 3 days, and wasn't much longer after that we got started. My first treatment was on November the 12th, 2021.
And you're still going.
My last one will be November 18th, 2022.
Okay, you're getting really close.
Yes.
Really close.
I got 2 more to go.
Oh, how exciting. I'm happy for you.
Yes, it's been super, and I'm telling you, people say, oh, what would you change? I don't think I would change anything. Spiritually, I have grown by leaps and bounds. If I have advice for anybody, is to surround yourself with spiritual people. As a friend of mine in Palatia said, you have clouds and clouds of people praying for you. And I can feel it. It's the only thing that got me through some of the days, is the fact that I know that there, if not thousands, hundreds of thousands out there. I even have a former colleague of mine from West that moved back to Russia. She's got her church praying for me in Moscow.
That's amazing.
So
it works. I believe
works.
it.
Oh yes, the power of prayer is amazing.
So you've touched on some things already, but so the whole video series is about choosing joy and how we find happiness in the tough things that happen in life, and obviously cancer is the first subject that we're hitting. So how do you choose joy in this time when it does get difficult, and like you said, you do kind of get down on yourself and wonder?
Well, it's definitely a choice you have to make. It just doesn't come to you. It's something that you have to commit to, that you are going to face everything not as a challenge but an opportunity.
Right.
And that's what I've done. I've got an opportunity. I know down the line there are going to be some setbacks, but they are not going to be challenges. They're going to be more opportunities.
I like that opportunity.
Every situation that God has put me in, He's put me there for a reason. When this all got started, my director came and gave me a slip of paper and said, this is your go-to verse. This is what I prayed on last night. This is what came to me. And it's Psalm 118:17, and it says, I will not die, but live and proclaim what the Lord has done.
Perfect verse.
And that has gotten me through many a downtime. And you're going to get down. Alex Trebek had a fantastic interview before his death about sometimes you're in the height of joy and everything's going on, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason or for no reason, you plummet into this valley of depression and despair, and you don't know why. You don't know where it's there, and it will hit. There are times I've got insomnia. I get up the next morning and can I go on? Can I go to work? Those types of things. But fortunately, I've surrounded myself with a lot of good people. My wife is my rock. She has really been the person who has pulled me up when I've been down. She knows how to do that, and I can't say enough about her. She's just the love of my life. She always was. She always will be. And I know she goes through this with me.
Absolutely.
And I know that it's been very difficult on her because she's, being a psychologist, she's a what if. She always looks ahead. What can happen if this happens? And if I'm not around with her disabilities, it's going to be rough. And so I know she was very, very, very concerned right at the very beginning. But then as she saw me relax, she relaxed.
Yes.
And a lot of that had to be, that's what the idea was. I don't want people around me feeling sorry for me.
Right.
The hardest thing for me to learn through this whole thing was to accept help. I was always the one taking care of everybody else. I was taking care of the family, I was taking care of friends and those types of things. And then when people started wanting to bring food over, wanting to take me to Houston, wanting to do this, it was very hard for me to accept that. Until a really good friend of mine said, you're handling this pretty well, but you have to let your friends be blessed by helping you. And I'd never heard it put that way before. And I thought, you know what? You're right. Why should I steal that blessing from them?
It blesses them too, for sure.
So let them, so from that point on, it's been pretty easy. And again, that was surrounding yourself with the right people. I've lost some, what I would consider friends on this, but they were the Debbie Downers. They were the ones that, well, have you planned your funeral yet? Before.
Not my time.
No, it's not my time to do that. Well, you should at least have a pre-planned funeral plan. Well, I do, but I did that long before this. Well, do you have any idea we're going to have it held? No, because I plan on being here for a while. Those people I've kind of avoided. But the rest of them, I said, I've had real good luck to have really good friends. I get calls from a former head coach of mine. He's up in Dallas, Fort Worth area now. He calls former choir director and music ministry leader at First Baptist Church. He calls, or I'll call him, and we talk all the time. And so it's great to have people like that who are concerned and listening and praying for you, and they'll take the time to call you.
Yeah, and that's good advice, to surround yourself with people that are positive like that.
Yes.
So is there any other tidbit of advice that you could tell people, particularly people maybe who are caregivers or who are going through the cancer process right now, that
with caregivers have to understand that the person they're taking care of is going through an awful lot.
Right.
I mean, their mortality has hit them. I'm not as mobile as I was. I'm on a cane now. I've got orthostatic hypotension, so I'm having to use a wheelchair for any long distance things or things like that. And some people would get down on that. I kind of like zipping around East High School in my little wheelchair, and all the kids, they've named it Luigi, and they want to put a little flag on the back of it, and hell, I'll go with it. That's fun. They're having a good time with it, so why shouldn't I? So, those types of things, a lot of people get down. And there are times, there are physical things I cannot do anymore. There are physical things that are happening with my neuropathy that I'm getting used to, that sometimes are just annoying, and I can get a little down with that. But the caregiver has to understand that, they're having to live with things. The person with the cancer is living with things that they've never had to live with before, and adapt. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a tough adaptation.
Sure.
So they do have to kind of understand. But then I also suggest that caregivers surround themselves with good people.
Absolutely.
They need prayers just as much as a person who has the condition. And so my wife and I, we share a lot of the same friends. So not only am I in their prayers, but she's in their prayers too. So, and she feels it just as much. We talk about it all the time. Talking with your spouse or the person you're giving the care to. Sit down and talk. Just do it. Some of the most intimate things that Deb and I have been able to do is just sit and talk. And it's wonderful. We didn't do that much before I got sick. She had her life, I had my life. We were always on the go doing things. 2 ships passing in a night. And now we can sit. We get up early in the morning. We sit and talk before I go to work. She'll call me on my conference period, have a quick little conversation. I get home. We sit down. We have dinner. We talk. We may watch a little TV. We talk again before we go to bed at night. We're doing more talking now than we probably ever did in our marriage.
It's funny how things change.
Yeah, it does. It's funny. But it's wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing. And I wish I would change something. I wish we'd done it earlier.
Yes.
And done that earlier. But it's really, it has been a journey. At times it's been rough, but again, I wouldn't change anything. I've been very blessed that with my chemo treatment, the only really what I would call bad side effect has been my neuropathy. I have not, unfortunately, lost weight. I did not lose weight on this.
It tends to be a big side effect.
I did not get nauseated. I did not, unfortunately, lose what little hair I have. I wouldn't have mind losing that, but all the nasty side effects I didn't have. My blood work stayed good. I was very lucky to qualify for the Keytruda trial and actually scored 100 on their test, some sort of test that they did on my blood, that when they called me said, "This is so unusual. We didn't expect this at all. We need you in this."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, sure, why not? I'm in 2 other different studies at MD Anderson because I'm a big education person.
Yes.
Somebody needs to learn something.
Absolutely.
From this. So, but that's my journey. And I said I went back to work full time at the public schools because I thought I could do more good there than at the little private Christian school because it was pretty small. And the interaction with the kids wasn't like it is at the public schools. And I just felt something kept telling me, you need to get back in the classroom, you need to get back in the classroom. And so when I put my application in, they jumped on it. Within 20 minutes after I filed it, I was getting a phone call, when can you come interview? Yeah. So, but it's great, it's fun, I enjoy it, got great kids.
I think that helps too. I taught while I was sick.
You have to live your life.
I agree.
You cannot let cancer rule you. You must live your life. And just understand that cancer is just a little bump in the road, a little change in your routine, but don't let it rule you. And that's another big thing that was in my life too, was, okay, I have to go for treatments every 2 weeks. Great, I go for treatments every 2 weeks. That doesn't keep me from planning things, although now I look at the calendar, which one is it? And I screwed up because my daughter got married last weekend and that was supposed to be my treatment weekend. So they just put it off one weekend. It wasn't any big deal.
Yeah.
So it was, I didn't change my life because of cancer. I just went on with it and added a little stuff to it. And that was a big part of it also.
I think that's great
That
advice.
Normalization.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Any last words? Anything you want to share?
Just be happy.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes life so much easier. People want to be around you. I've got people. I go to West Katy, the West Houston one in Katy all the time, and there's 2 or 3. Oh, Mr. Streeter, you're here. You're my favorite patient because you always come in with a smile on your face, and no matter if you've had 2 hours of traffic or it's been good traffic, it didn't make any difference to you. You're always in here smiling and happy, and to me, I was just being normal, but it made an impression on other people, and that's again, I didn't want to change anything except for the fact that I wanted to be much more positive. And I have to admit, growing up, I was one of those half-empty people. Mm-hmm. But now I'm more of a 3/4 full person. So.
Yes. So there is positives.
Oh yes, very definitely.
Come out of it. Absolutely.
Oh yes, yeah. Definitely. Okay. Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, we're so glad that we got to have Mr. Rick Streeter with us today. As always, like, love, share, especially if you know someone who could use this video today. Until next time. Okay, that's it.